Get ready for the action because UFC superstar Conor McGregor is dropping a subtle but serious taunt aimed directly at Khamzat Chimaev and Strickland ahead of the massive UFC 328 event in Newark. McGregor, who hasn't stepped inside the octagon since 2021, is clearly feeling the energy, and his recent post on X sent a message that is sure to rattle the entire card. We break down exactly what McGregor is hinting at and why this rivalry is about to explode.
Here's a simple way to protect your phone without stress. This ALEN 3-pack comes with tempered glass screen protectors, camera lens protectors, and an installation frame for an easier, cleaner fit. It's clear, case-friendly, and built to help guard against scratches and everyday bumps. Check the link in the comments to get it on Amazon.
Next up, we dive into the massive scale of the UFC Freedom 250 event happening right from the White House in DC. UFC CEO Dana White has revealed the exact number of comped tickets available, and the numbers are staggering, with 85,000 tickets being offered to fans across the country. Find out the specific process you need to follow to secure these free passes, and why Dana White is so hyped for this historic event. We shift gears to the women's division, where the drama is heating up. Amanda Nunes is weighing in on the situation surrounding Ronda Rousey versus Gina Carano, and the comments coming from the legendary Amanda Nunes suggest this matchup is fantastic for women's MMA. We explore what Nunes thinks about the returns of Rousey and Carano and what this means for the landscape of the sport. And finally, the biggest comeback story in MMA. UFC legend Dustin Poirier has spoken out, revealing the single condition under which he is open to returning to the octagon, and that opponent is none other than Nate Diaz. We uncover the deep history behind this potential reunion, the reasons why Poirier wants to fight Diaz again, and what the future holds for the Diamond. UFC superstar Conor McGregor has injected some subtle tension into the build-up for UFC 328, focusing his attention on the highly anticipated middleweight clash between Khamzat Chimaev and Strickland in Newark, New Jersey. The bout is set to be a major event, as Chimaev and Strickland have a history of animosity, having traded verbal sparring for months leading up to the fight week. Chimaev is aiming to maintain his undefeated streak in MMA, following his recent victory over Dricus du Plessis for the middleweight title at UFC 319. Despite recent title fight losses, he earned the matchup against Strickland after a strong performance over Anthony Hernandez at UFC Houston. Adding another layer of interest to the card is the presence of Conor McGregor, who is on the cusp of a return to the octagon. Although McGregor has never competed at the middleweight division, he expressed his excitement for the event in a recent post to X, stating, "Very excited for the Newark, New Jersey UFC card, with my 185-lb UFC title on the line." He directed fans to tune in on Paramount+. Chimaev and Strickland have a history of conflict, stemming from their ongoing barbs, particularly following McGregor's recent win over Donald Cerrone at UFC 246. Chimaev transitioned to middleweight after defeating Kamaru Usman at UFC 294. As of this report, neither Chimaev nor Strickland has publicly responded to McGregor's post. With many top contenders watching, the Chimaev versus Strickland confrontation is poised to be a focal point of the event. Meanwhile, McGregor remains linked to potential rematch discussions with former BMF title holder Max Holloway as he plans his comeback fight, having last competed after sustaining a leg injury at UFC 264. The fight week in Newark promises fireworks as these high-profile matchups converge. UFC CEO Dana White has revealed the exact number of complimentary tickets available for UFC Freedom 250, scheduled to take place on the South Lawn of the White House on Sunday, June 14. The event is set to feature a high-profile card headlined by Ilia Topuria versus Justin Gaethje for the UFC Lightweight Championship, alongside an interim UFC Heavyweight Championship bout between former light heavyweight champion Alex Pereira and ex-interim champion Cyril Gane. To meet high demand, White and his team are offering significant complimentary access to the event. White detailed the ticket distribution in a recent interview with Lara Trump, specifying that approximately 85,000 free tickets will be distributed to UFC fans, particularly those who have never visited Washington. DC fans must register for these tickets, which are free, and are encouraged to attend during the week of the fight. In addition to the general ticket allocation, 4,300 comped tickets will be provided for attendees who wish to witness the octagon up close, with a significant allocation reserved for military personnel. White emphasized the unique opportunity, stating, "If you are a fan of the UFC, and especially if you have never been to Washington, D.C., we're going to give away about 85,000 tickets. This is absolutely, positively the time to come to D.C." White noted that deadlines for previous ticket requests have passed, with many requests remaining unfulfilled. Regarding event logistics, White assured attendees that the event will proceed without major disruption. He stated that the only potential issue could be lightning, but his team is prepared. White confirmed that there will be no relocation of the event to a new venue or date. Adjustments might involve shifting the start time by 2 hours earlier or later. White expressed confidence in the event's success, noting that his commitment to outdoor events is high, comparing the situation to his experience as a weatherman in Abu Dhabi. The UFC Freedom 250 will also include a 2-day fan fest at the Ellipse on Saturday and Sunday, preceded by a press conference at the Lincoln Memorial. Miami, Amanda Nunes has weighed in on the recent discussion surrounding the potential fight between Ronda Rousey and Gina Carano, dismissing concerns raised by Kayla Harrison regarding the matchup. Rousey and Carano are both making their return to the MMA scene following extended layoffs, both appearing on MVP's first MMA card live on Netflix, scheduled for May 16 at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood, California. Rousey has not competed since suffering a TKO loss to Nunes in 2016, while Carano has been inactive since 2009. While Kayla Harrison characterized the fight as irrelevant, former UFC dual champion Amanda Nunes offered a contrasting, highly positive assessment. Speaking to channel YouTube, Nunes stated, "I don't see nobody losing here. Ronda Rousey's back. She's going to fight Gina. This is great for women's MMA. This is great for all of us. I don't know what is going on with Kayla. I don't care. I don't know what is going on. I just want a date, though." Nunes, who was slated to return from retirement to challenge bantamweight champion Harrison at UFC 324, had her bout canceled after Harrison withdrew due to a neck injury requiring surgery. Nunes reiterated her enthusiasm for the event, emphasizing the positive impact on the women's division. "I want Kayla focusing on the day to give me a date," Nunes added. "I want to get in there and face her. Whatever she has outside with whatever, I don't care. I don't see anything horrible here. I think it's great. Ronda Rousey is coming back. She's going to fight. Everybody is going to watch it, and me and Kayla, I hope, soon too. Women's MMA wins, and I'm happy about it." UFC legend Dustin Poirier has officially indicated he is open to returning to the octagon, contingent on one specific opponent, his rival, Nate Diaz. Poirier retired last summer following a decision loss to Max Holloway at UFC 318 in Louisiana, concluding a 14-year career. Despite retiring, Poirier remains motivated, citing personal reasons, including wanting more time with his young children and acknowledging the physical toll of his career. As a former top 10 ranked fighter, the possibility of a comeback has resurfaced. Speaking on the Deep Waters podcast, Poirier made it clear that Diaz is the sole fighter he would consider facing. He elaborated on the history between the two, referencing their canceled bout at UFC 280 in 2018. Poirier detailed the reasons behind the initial cancellation, alleging that the UFC had pressured him to fight other opponents instead of Diaz, leading him to state, "I still want to whip Nate's ass. I'll come back to fight him because he got away, and he lied, and the fans ran on his side." Meanwhile, Nate Diaz is making a return to MMA action, taking on Mike Perry on the MVP MMA card on Netflix on May 16th. This marks Diaz's first MMA fight since submitting Tony Ferguson at UFC 279 in September 2022. UFC President Dana White has previously acknowledged discussions about bringing Diaz back to the UFC before his Netflix commitment. Industry observers suggest that if Diaz defeats Perry, the UFC might revisit a reunion between the two, potentially setting the stage for a high-stakes grudge match involving Poirier.